What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about Tesla and why Tesla's at a very critical level right now. We are approaching a very important level, and whether Tesla breaks this or not is going to depend on many pieces of news, the overall market, and different factors. So I'm going to talk about how that could affect Tesla. I'm also going to break down what the technicals are telling us, what's going on with the overall market, what the data is telling us about Tesla, and why on earth tomorrow is going to be a very critical day in my opinion. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each valued at up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 8 days. Make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla's up 3% for the day, at least as of during the close on Friday. It still is a little green in the after hours, and overall we did get some nice strength after the very good pieces of news that have been coming out. As of right now, the news cycle has been a lot more in Tesla's favor. There were some bad pieces of news, such as the recall news, and we know it wasn't a typical recall. It was just, it just required the issues to be fixed with an over-the-air software update. But besides that, most of the news has been in Tesla's favor. So the real question is, what is going to happen? I want to note to everyone, we do have a bearish divergence developing on the MACD and the RSI as of right now, but this could be invalidated depending on what ends up happening tomorrow and also later on for the week. I also want to note that we have very big economic data coming out for tomorrow that will affect Tesla. But before I talk about that and what's going to happen to Tesla, we have to talk about the news. To start off, Tesla announced the date for the 2023 Investor Day. It's going to be on March 1st. That's part of why Tesla is heavily outperforming the market. A lot of investors are very excited. They're very optimistic. We're going to see a lot of big advancements made to the product lines, not to mention their long-term expansion plans and the Generation 3 platforms. Once again, very good for investors. Now, when it comes to expansion plans, there is some speculation that Tesla will make a big announcement involving something with the location of their next big gigafactory. We don't know for sure, but it is still very possible. Now, right now, I want to confirm and make it very clear that even though Tesla is very open to the gigafactory opening in Mexico, they haven't actually picked the location just yet. It's not confirmed yet, the exact place. That's what the president of Mexico just said as well when he was actually on a call with Elon Musk. They're open to the idea, they just don't know the location just yet. So Tesla's continuing to look for different places, and they're narrowing the list over and over again. So I still consider this great news, because when the announcement comes out, in my opinion, it's going to be some very bullish news, and we could see the share price continue to try to soar off of this. However, I also need to note that we should still be very careful because of how the overall market is performing, and we are getting some signs of a slowdown. I'm going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Now, what else is good about Tesla is the fact that it's actually open and considering buying a lithium miner. And in my opinion, that's once again good news for Tesla investors, because they need more and more resources. They need lithium for their battery production. It's very important. And this is actually one that's based in Brazil, known as Sigma Lithium. It's actually valued at about $3 billion. So the more control Tesla has over these resources, the more efficient they're going to become at building more of these products and actually meeting their goals, which is bullish in the eyes of investors. On top of that, we had some new updates that just came out from the software. I'm not going to go into the full details. They actually have the ability to have users set their steering wheel heaters to regulate their temperatures automatically, to set it based off the temperatures they want. So that's very cool. They also have Sentry mode lighting and also speed assists coming out. That could actually help the cameras detect speed limits a lot more efficiently. And on top of that, they have new games. So very cool stuff. I admire what Tesla is doing. I also want to note that we had some bad news over the weekend. This is maybe the main bad piece of news. Basically, what happened was there was an accident in California, and US regulators are now seeking more information, and this is leading to more people, criticizing the FSD technology that Tesla's still working on. Once again, they're still working on it. It's not perfect, but they're doing what they can, and the contributions that are making to the world because of it are going to be huge, in my opinion. So it doesn't change my opinion for the long term. For the short term, this is not the best of news, however. And this is making so many headlines. Once again, the NHTSAs once again, and as another reason to probe Tesla's driver assist system and autopilot and etc. Not the end of the world, however, they're still working very hard on it. Now, for the overall stock market, I want to note that PMI data is coming out. This is going to give us a very good understanding of what's happening to the manufacturing side of our economy. Now, we don't want this to be way too hot. It could be interpreted very differently. At the same time, if it's very hot, the market might see this as a sign of an expanding economy. They could also interpret it differently. It really is just data coming out, and the market makers and big bears out there basically doing what they want to do regardless of what the news says. They're using the news as an excuse to do what they have to do. So the market may interpret these numbers very differently. So expect a big move in the stock market 15 minutes after the market opens, then 30 minutes after, expect a big move in either direction. It's going to be very interesting. I also want to note that we have FOMC minutes coming out on Wednesday. That's going to be important. Jobless claims and GDP data for Thursday, and some Fed speakers. And then on Friday, we have PCE data, another very big inflationary measure. This is going to be super important, and this could have a negative effect on the stock market once again, because the Fed is more likely to talk a lot more because of this, and even be more hawkish if numbers end up being high. For earnings, we don't have too much. We actually have Walmart coming out on Tuesday. We also have a couple of other ones. We have Nvidia. We have, I think that's TJ Maxx, Unity, Fiverr, Wix, just a couple other ones like Wish and Moderna. Not really too much coming out for this week compared to other ones, but Nvidia is going to be a big one to watch for Wednesday. Now for Tesla, what's good about Tesla is high volume. 213 million in volume is above average. That is showing signs of more and more motivated buying pressure. The short volume percentage is on a downtrend, meaning that right now, the percentage of the volume made up in shorting and selling pressure is not necessarily slowing down Tesla as much as it did before. Now, I'm saying this because, yes, it still is high, and that's because of the fact that Tesla did get a bit of a pullback in the beginning of the day. It almost turned red, but then it ended up getting a nice bounce as we saw an increase in the amount of puts being sold and the amount of calls being bought. Now, what happened was when Tesla was hit with the bad news about the recall, quote unquote recall, it wasn't a typical recall, by the way, guys. The media just likes to use those terms. But when the news came out, people started loading up on Friday puts for Tesla, and the shorts got squeezed to some degree as Tesla held up pretty well. Now, as far as data goes, Tesla is still outperforming the market. We have a higher than before price pairs ratio, and Tesla's continuing to hold up quite well. Barclays came out, they're bullish on Tesla, saying it's going to outperform. We're getting lots of very good ratings from analysts. Every single analyst so far is saying that they're bullish, buy Tesla. It's going to keep going. Very awesome stuff. Tesla's green about 50.92% of the time on Tuesdays. So we do have a tendency of being green on Tuesdays, but we do tend to slow down in the beginning of the day and then speed up as the day goes on. That's the trend Tesla's been following for many months. And on top of that, the overall short interest is still a little bit higher than where it was a few weeks ago, but it's very, very flat right now. So we're not seeing like way more shorts piling in or way more shorts being covered as of right now. It's kind of just sitting there. And this is telling me that shorts are just patiently waiting. They're being a little bit more careful than before. Now, finally, the last thing I want to talk about is what's going on with the technicals in the market. And I mentioned tomorrow is going to be a very critical day. The reason for that is when you look at SPY, overall, on the daily time frame on SPY, we do have a crossover on the MACD, suggesting that we did lose a lot of bullish momentum, but the bulls are not out of the water because of how manipulated the stock market is. If SPY breaks 410, that's going to be bullish for the stock market. If we break and hold it, and then we start to break the key resistance here, the really bullish thing would be a break above like 415. That would destroy lots of shorts, and the market would have a big edge. Now, if we break down The very important level would be the low from Friday, 404. If we break below that, the market's going to likely respect a bit of a downtrend. That's a very important level, and we could see the market come down much harder if we break that low. The odds are favoring that we're going to get a nice push up on Monday. I'm sorry, not Monday, Tuesday. Today is Monday. The market was closed, obviously, for Tuesday. The market's going to get a nice push up and maybe get stopped around 410 or so. That's what I think is going to happen to SPY. Then we might get a rejection and a very flat close. In my opinion, it seems like the market's going to be strong for the beginning of this week and maybe slow down later on because of jobless claims and PCE and etc. That's what my bias is telling me. Once again, that's what technicals seem to be showing. For the VIX, I want to note that this thing already got a bit of a breakout. It did come down a little. It might continue to come down as the market pushes up, then get a really nice bounce off the wedge right here. If that happens, if it gets a really nice bounce and keeps going up, well, that's going to be correlated with the market coming down. So that is a signal that the market might slow down. Once again, the VIX is not causing this. The VIX is just reflecting what the market would be doing. And there are some signals suggesting that the market might slow down a bit. For the triple Q, I'm going to be watching, let's see, 304, very important level. If it breaks 304, this thing is going to continue to push up to 308, which could be bullish for tech and Tesla. But if it fails at 304, trades a little sideways there, we have a very important demand zone between this 298 to 297 area. It could come down to retest that a little later, in my opinion. If it fails, there's quite a bit of room for downside, and we could come down to the low 290s, thus slowing down the market. I think first we're going to get a nice push up, though, on Tuesday. We're going to try to hold this level, and it really depends on tech. It could still slow down later. Finally, I'm going to talk about the dollar index and just Tesla to try to wrap up this video. For the dollar index, it's breaking out. It's still holding up pretty darn well. I actually like the way it's holding up. This is telling me that the market has some bearish signals coming out going later on because it's holding up so well. It might trade a little sideways as the market tries to get a rebound in the early hours of tomorrow. But if it keeps going up, if it keeps trying to fight for this 105 area, that's going to be a bearish signal for the stock market going forward, maybe over the next few weeks, guys. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not saying all this has to happen tomorrow. I'm just talking about the much longer term. This is what the trend is telling us as the dollar is continuing to respect some very strong momentum and continuing to try to break out. Finally, the 10-year Treasury yield, before I get to Tesla, it did get a rejection off 39. That's the key resistance, right? If this thing rejects, I do believe we have some downside on the 10-year yield, which is why the market might bounce tomorrow. But it's going to likely find support at a higher place than before, get a bounce, and eventually try to break this, right? So we are getting some signals that are bearish for the stock market once again, maybe for the next few weeks. But for tomorrow in particular, I do think the market might try to bounce first. Now, for Tesla, what does all of this tell me? As of right now, I did mention to you guys that we do have a potential topping process on Tesla. I can't promise you that, though, because it depends on the news. Now, I can't also predict the future perfectly. Nobody can. No one is, perfect when doing that, but we could speculate and make predictions based off logical things going on. Right now, the news has been favoring Tesla for the most part. It has been helping it, and in my opinion, we could see a continuation of that. Now, if you're bearish, let's first talk about the bearish possibility. If Tesla comes down, you have to watch the 205 area. If it fails at 205, it could come all the way down to retest the support line around this 201 area, 201 to 200. We also have a very key demand zone between 197 to 200. If that fails, if we fail at 197 to 200, expect it to come all the way down to 193, then all the way down to 189. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just a bearish possibility. The bullish possibility is going to be a break above this 209 level. If it breaks it, it's going to fight for this 214 to 215 area. Now, Tesla's been fighting that for quite a while. It got rejected like 2-3 times off of it. It just fought and fought and fought. The more we retest it, the more likely it is for us to try to break out of that 215 area. And if we do break it, it could try to fly not just to 217, but maybe 220 to 225, which is where the 200 period moving average is on the daily. It could try to get to 225 if we do get the breakout. Now, I did mention to you guys that there is a bearish divergence forming. This is telling me that this could be a topping process. However, it's not confirmed. It does not guarantee that Tesla has topped yet. Is it possible? Yes, but it's not guaranteed. And that's why tomorrow is going to be very important for determining that. Now, I want to note to everyone that this could be invalidated. This divergence forming right over here on the MACD and the RSI, it could be invalidated depending on what happens tomorrow. And it also depends on the news. But my guess and my prediction and my logical assessment based off what's happening so far is Tesla's continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. Look at the trend. We're still pushing up. There's not a confirmation of the breakout of this support. If it breaks support tomorrow or later, be very careful. You have to watch it carefully. But I don't think that's going to happen. My prediction is in the morning, I think Tesla's going to be a little slow just to start off around this 209 area, and then it's going to slowly start pushing. The buyers are going to come in, the volume comes in, and Tesla's going to fight for 215. Now, I don't know if we're going to break 215. It's very hard to predict, but if I could give you guys my prediction, it would be maybe we break out of this and try to get to about 220 or so. But if the divergence continues, the bearish divergence, if it does continue, even if we get the breakout, that's going to make me very cautious, right? I'm not going to just load up on shares like crazy right here. I'm going to still watch for a very good entry or just be very patient beforehand, because this could be, once again, a very, very big topping process for Tesla that's still developing. That's why I'm going to watch it carefully. My 2 cents for tomorrow are basically telling me that Tesla's going to push up, try to get to this 215 area. This is a very critical zone. It might break out of it just barely, get a small rejection off maybe like 220 or so, come down a little bit and close somewhat green, maybe a little bit below the 215 area. And I do think Tesla could try to get another green day for tomorrow. Why? Because we have some nice volume. The buyers are still there. And overall, the trend is still more bullish than bearish and has not confirmed that Tesla's going to be downtrending yet. It hasn't been confirmed yet, right? So I am predicting a slight green day, but I'm still prepared for anything based off signals in real time. So make sure you don't solely invest based off what I'm saying. I'm not giving financial advice. You should be doing your own research as well. You also have to note that even if Tesla needs to break 215 to continue pushing up, to continue the trend. If it keeps getting rejected off 215, it could continue to trade sideways and it could end up failing. So we have to be very careful right at this level. Very strong resistance. So anyways, that's basically what I have for tomorrow. I am predicting Tesla's going to fight for 215, maybe break above it temporarily, but then come down and still close pretty green, just somewhat green, as it has been outperforming the market. But I do believe that the market is in for some very interesting volatility. Now, please remember the big catalyst coming out for the 15 minutes after the market closes, then 30 minutes. Expect lots of volatility tomorrow, and just please be prepared, guys. Very important day tomorrow. Thank you all so much for listening. I want everyone to have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Remember to remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.